guess I'm back on the edge. Maybe I never left. Would it be nice if you cared, but what did I expect? I tried, but I cannot explain. I think I'm on the edge, about to lose my head. I think I'm about to lose it. Oh yeah, I'm about to lose it, about to lose it, about to lose it. Yeah, yeah, I'm about to lose it, about to lose it, about to lose it. I'm hanging on by a thread, guess I could use a break.
You think I'm gonna fucking roll over? It'll be a cold day in hell when I go out like a fucking chump.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Week 8 of the 2025 NFL season. I am not getting this video up super early this week. The Vikings play on Thursday night in San Diego. Now, before I dive into the drink before tonight's game, some apologies might be in order. I've been absent. I think the last video I did was Week 4 at the cabin when the Vikings played in Ireland against the Steelers. They lost. The next week they played also early in the morning in London against the Browns. They won, but I didn't have internet that whole weekend. It was out inexplicably at my house. Yay. Then I had the flu and was completely out of commission for like 5 days, maybe 6 days even. And then they were on bye. And last week I did do a video, but I didn't post it because I just didn't have it. My heart wasn't in it. And I didn't want to put out some lackluster thing for you all to, try to watch. But I am back this week in prime time. Work's been a bear, but by God, we're going to do this on a weeknight. This week's beverage is one that I found. It's not a beer. I hope you can all forgive me. It is the Supper Club Cocktails Brandy Old Fashioned. Pretty cool can. That's what got my attention. Made with brandy and caramel color, 6.9% alcohol by volume. It's made by Supper Club Cocktails in Clintonville, Wisconsin. The nice thing about being a cocktail is I don't have to pretend to know much about beer or tasting notes or anything like that. It's just a cocktail. Interesting color. So now, I think the last time I accidentally had like an old-fashioned on this show was when I got the Leinenkugels in a can. One, thinking it was an old-fashioned flavored beer, and it was just an old-fashioned. So that's kind of the only thing I have to compare this to. Neat color. It's actually kind of interesting. In front of the green screen, it's quite pink from my point of view, but looking here on the screen, it looks, more amber or brown even. But skull, feel it there. Sweet. Sweeter than I expected, but I probably should have expected it to be sweeter, given that it's a brandy old-fashioned, not a bourbon old-fashioned. But really, sweeter than I'm used to, but pretty good. Not like doesn't leave your teeth feeling sticky afterwards. It's enjoyable. Thank you, Supper Club Cocktails. Okay, so the Vikings are 3-3, and in kind of a frustrating manner. I didn't really know where to start this week's video. I have things I want to say, but they all tie together, but being succinct is not really my thing. Ask anybody who knows me. I guess what I want to say is I think the Vikings are a good team that's being held back by poor quarterback play. But then I don't even want to solely blame the quarterback because we all saw how bad the offensive line was to start the season. But then, how do you explain the Vikings losing their center, maybe for the year, and putting Blake Brandel in, who's never played center, and having him and the rest of the offensive line perform very well against the Browns with Myles Garrett? The Browns have proven to be one of the best defenses in the league. Myles Garrett and the rest. And the Vikings, did a very good job at protecting Carson Wentz in that game. So the offense is perplexing to me. And Carson Wentz, just to get this elephant in the room out the door, it's been fun to feel this frustration and then go online and see other people having it and struggling with the fact that it's not even that he's terrible, right? It's that you see these glimmers of how he could be good, but then when he does these stupid boneheaded things, it makes it that much worse because he's not just flat bad all the time. And if he would just calm down and do the good things, we'd be in a great spot. So I'm not really one for looking at the past too much. That's not my thing on this channel. But the Eagles game was a frustrating watch because he was hitting Jordan Addison on these plays, these deep downfield throws, but they were like 5 yards behind him. So we have to stop and fall down to catch the ball when it would have been a walk-in touchdown. I mean, just replaying the game, they march down the field. He misses Addison twice and Naylor once. And then there's the two, like at least 2 or 3 shots down the sideline that he underthrew him. The weird backwards pass to Cam Akers, which just gets treated, or not Cam Akers, Jordan Mason, which just went 5 yards behind where even Jordan Mason was. So now it's like a loss of 10. Can't really blame him for that wild snap, but just that game, and then, sorry, I'm all over the place. Then in the middle of the game, he played really pretty well, settled down, and I think got like 200 and some yards in like the middle 2 quarters. But the beginning and the end, just boneheaded mistakes. And I don't know what he thought he was going to do by throwing that bomb to Addison in like deep double coverage on the run. I can kind of forgive him for throwing that first pick right over the middle to pick 6 because he was getting like his ribs caved in by a defensive lineman. So, okay, not great, but I can understand why. It's just so frustrating that the Vikings are, I think, a really good team. And I'll get to my point on that in a second. And we're just held back. If we just had, to see the moxie and the swagger that Jackson Dart has, leading, I would say, a talent deficient Giants team to some victories and some hilariously close losses and collapses. And to see Baker Mayfield out, gutting out these victories and grinding out games in the biggest moments, it's concerning that JJ McCarthy did not look very good, given that he had like kind of a whole year to get acclimated. He's still new, he's still learning, still getting his first action. I'm not writing him off yet. It's just concerning. And I'm not really one, I don't believe that he's getting soft benched. I think just when you consider how many times KOC has come out and said he thinks that like franchises fail quarterbacks before quarterbacks fail franchises, I think he's doing his best to make sure that McCarthy is ready and being put in a spot to succeed and, more importantly, not get re-injured. All that, I say, to say the Vikings defense, despite the scoreboard, the box score last week, has been playing, I think, phenomenally. And, when you looked at they lost to the Steelers, but if you take away Rodgers' 180-yard slant to DK Metcalf, they held them in check. Obviously, they shut down the Bengals, but that didn't turn out to be that big of a deal. And then, like I said, I recorded a video for last week against the Eagles, and I didn't post it, which is good, because it would have looked like I was very wrong about a lot of things. I talked about how the Vikings defense has been shutting down wide receivers, and I think the number was something like only the Packers have allowed fewer deep passes to wide receivers than the Vikings, but they've been pretty porous against the run. So I was very concerned that it was going to be a Saquon Barkley week. Instead, the Vikings shut Saquon Barkley down, and I apologize, I have not dug into the numbers on this, but if you took away what feels like the half dozen moonshots that Hurts connected with A.J. Brown and Devontae Adams on, they weren't having a super successful time moving the ball. I understand that's kind of like saying if you take away the engine and the sleek body, a Ferrari's just a set of wheels. I understand that I'm taking away what made that game work for them. And I would need somebody smarter than me to try to parse out why the Vikings, who had been so good against wide receivers, all of a sudden forgot to cover Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. I don't know. I'm just saying, whatever, that feels fluky to me, given how good they've been in all other facets of the game. They were getting sacks. They were getting pressure on Jalen Hurts, which is not strictly an easy thing to do. They shut down Saquon Barkley, and ifs and buts were candies and nuts and all that. But if you look back at that game and understand that the Vikings threw a pick six, which gave the Eagles an extra 7 points. They had Jalen Naylor's touchdown taken off by a phantom holding call on Blake Brandel. They had a Hawkinson touchdown taken back after review. And that's one that I know Vikings are a little wound up about. Vikings fans are a little wound up about it. I get what they're saying. Like he hit the ground and he held onto it, but then it came loose. I understand why it wasn't a catch. I think it's dumb. I think the NFL needs to figure out something where impressive catches can just be catches and we don't need. But I'm not smart enough to draw that line. I'm just saying, even with a lot of blown coverage on the Eagles wide receivers and a touchdown coming off because of a penalty and a pick six and a touchdown being taken away because of, what is or what is not a catch, the Vikings were still in that game. And it's because of Brian Flores' defense. And this is the point I wanted to get to. The Vikings need to win right now because Brian Flores and his defense have been bailing Kevin O'Connell's offensive problems out, I think, for 3 years now. And eventually, the blackballing of Brian Flores is going to get lifted, and it's not going to be this easy to keep games close. We are being blessed right now with a phenomenally talented defense, coached by a mastermind, and when you look back at how many times KOC has gotten credit for getting victories with replacement level quarterbacks, I think it's because of the defense. It is because of the defense keeping them in these close games. So I really hope that this week against the Chargers, Carson Wentz has a great performance, gets a victory. I hope J.J. McCarthy comes back and has an opportunity to piece it all together. Now that he's got hopefully a full cast of weapons, he'll have Addison back. He never got to play with him, never got to share the field with him because Addison was suspended and then McCarthy was hurt, and allegedly they had quite the connection in training camp. They're supposed to be getting Aaron Jones back, if not this week, maybe next week. The offensive line hopefully has had time to figure some things out. And as I alluded to in the introduction, how they're how the Vikings and Chargers, moving on to this week's game now, enough about the season so far, how they're snake-bitten doppelgangers. I've said before on this show and off this show that I think the Chargers are like the AFC Vikings in terms of games getting weird, losing in heartbreaking and bizarre ways, not really having much postseason luck in the long term. And I think coming into this week, they're kind of in the same boat. They've got a team that's got some talented pieces on it. They're banged up. Their offensive line is on par or maybe even more banged up than the Vikings offensive line. It's not really a fight anybody wants to win or a contest anybody wants to win, but they're both in kind of bad spots. The Vikings are 0-7 on the road on Thursday Night Football, but Carson Wentz is 7-0 on Thursday Night Football. So that's kind of some weird, voodoo on both ends of the spectrum fighting in a game featuring two teams that are also trying to get off the mat. The Chargers are at 4-3. The Vikings are at 3-3. They're in similar spots. I think this should be a fun game. It has the potential to be another very frustrating one if the Vikings offense can't get rolling and can't get out of their own way. Just because I do a lot of, vibes-based talking about the Vikings here, and I thought it would add some legitimacy if I throw up some facts and figures. This image was posted by Sam Hoppen on Twitter, and this one was really interesting to me because, as you can see, the Chiefs absolutely took the Raiders to the woodshed. They dominated them that badly. According to this graph, the Vikings were actually very good at limiting the offensive success of the Eagles, except for those big explosive plays. This is another Vikings defense appreciation post. This chart is from @BenBaldwin on Twitter, and it's a chart saying how hard it is to earn first downs against each defense. As you can see, the Vikings are right up there at the top in terms of making it difficult for other teams to score. And this one was actually kind of interesting. The Vikings are, according to this, pretty good at run blocking, lackluster at pass blocking, but not the worst. And just kind of middle of the pack. And that, I think, holds with how I feel about them. Like, are they good? Are they bad? This looks bad this week, but then the next week they do really well against the Browns. I don't know what to do with them. It looks like it makes sense. But interestingly, the team that we're playing today, the Chargers, way down there with the Saints and the Bengals at both pass blocking and run blocking. So hopefully that is something that the defense that I have spent this entire episode praising can take advantage of. But if this is anything like the Eagles video that I recorded last week and didn't post, I'll probably be wrong about everything. Justin Herbert is going to look like Johnny Unitas met Tom Brady, and they're going to run roughshod over the Vikings, probably. Ultimately, I think this is a game they can win. I think it's a game the Vikings should win, but it's hard to speak with any kind of confidence about the Vikings, seeing how the first 6 games have gone this year. Good news, bad news? We get to watch the game a little early, get to see how they're doing, then they get a break before taking on the Lions next week, and they can't hurt us this weekend. All right, I got to get this thing edited and posted so I can get to bed. It's a school night. Thank you so much for watching. Skål för there. Yeah, that's pretty good. Go Vikings.